Okay, so you're watching a basketball game, right? Ever stop and wonder if a computer could actually keep up with all that chaos? I'm not just talking about following the ball. I mean, could an AI see, track, and identify every single player on the court all at once? It sounds like something out of a movie, but it's happening, and we're going to break down exactly how they're pulling it off.
And let's just kick things off with this quote because it really sets the stage. The folks who built this thing say that basketball is one of the absolute toughest challenges you can throw at a computer vision system. We're about to find out why, and more importantly, how they cracked the code.
So, what makes this the ultimate challenge? Well, it's not just one single thing. It's more like a perfect storm of visual chaos that pushes an AI to its absolute breaking point.
Seriously, just think about it for a second. You've got players sprinting, cutting, and jumping, which creates this constant motion blur. They're always bumping into each other, blocking the view of their jersey numbers. That's a huge problem called occlusion. On top of that, you've got similar team uniforms and a camera that's whipping around like crazy. For an AI, this is pretty much a worst-case scenario.
So, how in the world do you solve a problem that's this hard? Well, you don't go looking for one single magical AI that can do it all. No way. You build a team. You create an AI playbook where each different model has one specific job to do. The best way to think about it is like an assembly line, but for sight. Each station or each model takes the work from the station before it, does its one little job to refine it, and then passes it down the line. This idea of a multi-stage pipeline is the secret sauce to tackling something this complex. And here it is, the whole four-step game plan. First, the AI has to detect all the players. Just find them. Second, it has to track them as they're moving all over the court. Third, it needs to cluster them, basically figure out who's on which team. And finally, the really tricky part, identify each player by reading that little number on their jersey. Let's break down each play.
All right, so let's start at the beginning. Steps 1 and 2 are the foundation for everything else. You can't do anything cool until you can first see the players and then follow them around. The first specialist on our assembly line is a model called RF-DETR. Its only job is to scan a single frame of the video and instantly draw a box around anything that looks like a person, a ball, or a jersey number. It was picked because it hits that sweet spot. It's super fast, but also really accurate, even when things are kind of small and blurry. Now, once RF-DETR spots the players, it hands the baton to our second specialist, the tracking model, called SAM2. And this is where we go from just seeing something to actually following it. See, SAM2 has this incredible kind of short-term memory. So when one player runs behind another and vanishes for a second, SAM2 doesn't panic. It remembers what that player looks like and picks them right back up as soon as they reappear. But you know, it's not perfect. Sometimes SAM2 gets a little confused, and its tracking mask might accidentally grab a piece of the basketball or the background. So the engineers built this really clever little cleanup tool. It just looks at the whole colored blob, finds the single biggest piece, which is always going to be the player, and just deletes everything else. It's such a simple, elegant fix for a really messy problem. Okay, so our AI can see the players and follow them around. But how does it know who's on the home team and who's on the away team? It's not like it's reading the scoreboard. Nope. It uses this amazing technique called unsupervised clustering, which basically means it figures it out all by itself. Think of this as another little sub-team of 3 specialists. First, a model called SigLIP looks at a player's jersey and creates a unique mathematical fingerprint for it. Then, because that fingerprint is super complex, a second model called UMAP comes in and simplifies it, boiling it down to just the most important features. Finally, a classic algorithm called K-means takes all those simplified fingerprints and just sorts them into 2 piles. And boom, just like that, the AI has figured out the 2 teams. And the engineers use this brilliant little trick to make it work. Instead of telling the AI to look at the whole player, which might include the crowd or the court in the background, they told it to only look at the very center of the box. This forces the AI to focus squarely on the thing that actually matters, the jersey color and style. And now we've made it, the final and by far the hardest piece of the puzzle. Our AI can see the players, it can track them, it can sort them into teams. Now, it has to actually read those tiny, blurry, often half-hidden numbers on their jerseys. So the team set up a little showdown. They pitted a big, brand new, super complex model called Small VLM2 against a much older, simpler model called ResNet. And you'll love this. The big, fancy new model, it got a pretty good 86% accuracy. But the simpler ResNet, which was trained to do just one thing, classify numbers, it blew it out of the water. 93%. I mean, that's just awesome. It's such a great reminder that sometimes a smaller, specialized tool is way more effective than a giant general-purpose one. In the world of AI, bigger isn't always better. But hey, even 93% isn't perfect. So to make the system even more reliable, they added one final, super simple rule. The AI doesn't just trust the first number it sees. A player's ID is only locked in after the model reads the exact same number on that same jersey 3 times in a row. This little check filters out so many of the random mistakes. So let's check the final score. Does the system work? Absolutely. It can detect, track, cluster, and identify every player. But what are the big takeaways and what are the limitations? Well, here's the reality check. For something to be real-time, it needs to process about 30 frames per second. This whole system runs at about 2. So yeah, it's not going to be on a live sports broadcast anytime soon. But that was never the point. The goal here wasn't about production speed, it was about proving that a task this ridiculously complex was even possible. And that brings us to the most important lesson from this whole project. Solving the really, really hard problems in AI isn't about finding one single super genius model. It's about building a pipeline. It's about assembling a team of specialized AIs that work together, like on an assembly line, where each one has mastered its own little piece of the puzzle. Which leaves us with a really exciting question to think about. This whole project was a proof of concept. So just imagine a future where computing speed isn't the bottleneck anymore. If that were true, what other incredibly complex, seemingly impossible problems could we solve by putting together these specialized teams of AI?